You would not call open ground a bedroom, but ancient humans could not afford to treat it like one when darkness turned every exposed patch of earth into a place where wind, predators, insects, and the body's own fear could all work at once. When night fell, the world stopped giving clean answers because the horizon vanished, the temperature dropped, movement became hard to read, and your own attention had to narrow just when survival depended on seeing more, not less. So if you want to understand ancient life, look at where people slept, because sleep is where survival got honest and where the shape of safety became visible. The real question is not whether early humans could sleep. Of course they could. The question is why they kept finding shelter, sweeping floors, laying down bedding, and making the night feel bounded enough for a body to shut down without feeling completely exposed. That habit is older than houses, and it tells you safety was already being designed before architecture got a name. At Sibudu Cave in South Africa, Lynn Wadley and her team found layered bedding made from plant material, renewed over time, and arranged inside a cave like a deliberately prepared sleeping zone rather than a random pile of vegetation. Some of those plants appear to have helped with insects, which means the bed was not just soft. It was defensive, the kind of surface that made the dark less itchy, less noisy, and a little easier to trust. You were not simply lying down, you were managing the night and turning a floor into a boundary between your body and everything that wanted a piece of it, from damp cold to biting pests to whatever was moving beyond the firelight. In other words, the first bed was also a small piece of strategy, a decision to make sleep less like surrender and more like a controlled pause. At Wonderwerk Cave, Francesco Berna and Paul Goldberg documented evidence of fire used deep inside the cave, not merely near an opening where a breeze could have carried smoke away or where daylight might have done the work for them. That matters because interior fire means interior life. The center of the cave was not a storage corner. It was a place where people stayed, warmed themselves, dried damp clothing, cooked, and controlled the conditions around sleep. A fire in the middle of the living space tells you that the living space itself had already become organized. And organization is what turns a shelter into a home, a routine into a rhythm, and a safe corner into a place that can be returned to night after night. And at Qesem Cave, Naama Goran Inbar and colleagues found repeated occupation organized around the same hearth areas. The kind of return visits that turn a place into routine and make the layout of a camp feel almost like memory. You do not keep coming back to the same zone unless the zone is doing work for you, especially when moving and rebuilding every night would cost energy, time, and sleep. In this case, that work was warmth, predictability, and a safer night for tired bodies and watchful minds, plus the reassurance that tomorrow would not begin with a total reset. Curtis Marian's work at sites like Pinnacle Point points in the same direction, showing that sheltered places mattered not just because they blocked weather, but because they anchored repeated human behavior, resource planning, and the kind of social trust that lets a group stay put. That kind of repeat visit matters because every return says the same thing. This spot pays back the effort of coming back to it, and a location that pays back effort quickly becomes part of the group's memory. The pattern says something simple and powerful. Ancient humans were not improvising every night. They were building repeatable sleep, which means they were building repeatable confidence too. Picture the evening now. The light is going gray. Someone is dragging dry grass into a sheltered corner. Another person is sweeping ash and stones away from the sleeping area, and a child is being tucked against a warmer body before the cold settles in. Near the entrance, one adult keeps an eye on the dark because every camp understands that sleep is cheaper when somebody else keeps watch and the rest of the group can stop bracing for danger. The bed is not separate from the camp. It is part of the camp's defense system, and the wall of the cave, the screen of brush, the low fire, the packed floor, the familiar smell of smoke and leaves, and the shared certainty that someone is awake all work together so that closing your eyes does not feel like surrender. That division of labor is the hidden luxury, because a group that can trust one pair of eyes at the doorway can let everyone else fall deeper into sleep without pretending the world is harmless. It feels like permission. That is the twist most people miss. The ancient human bed was not invented for comfort first. It was invented for risk management, and comfort arrived as a side effect because the moment a place becomes safe enough to sleep, it also becomes soft enough to love. Once you understand that, the history of sleep stops looking soft and starts looking brilliantly strategic, because the smartest sleep spot was not the softest one. It was the one that let your nervous system stop scanning the edges of the world and trust the ground beneath you. The body does not only want rest, it wants a safe place to rest. And even now, your brain checks temperature, noise, light, smell, and uncertainty before it fully lets go, which is why a bad room can feel exhausting even when the mattress is fine. That is why people make bedtime rituals. They lower the lights, close the door, charge the phone, set the blanket, cool the room, and repeat the same small actions until the nervous system believes the night is under control, because the body still wants a signal that the boundary has been drawn. Even the smallest bedtime habits are doing ancient work, from a closed curtain to a favorite pillow, because they tell the brain the edges have been handled. In a way, you are doing the same thing as Sibudu, Wonderwerk, and Qesem, making a boundary between danger and rest and asking the dark to wait outside while the warm part of the world gathers inside. So the next time you look at a cave, a tent, a bedroom, or even a favorite corner of a room, remember what it really is. It is not just a place to lie down. It is a little machine for telling the brain the world is safe enough to close its eyes. Ancient humans did not sleep anywhere. They slept where the night had already been shaped into shelter, and your body still asks the same question every night. Is this ground safe enough to become a bed?